Well, I'm Gene Claps, so that's my name.
Okay.
Well, the main mission of the office of a sheriff is several prongs. Obviously, you're doing law enforcement activities throughout the county. You're also working on maintaining a jail, because the sheriff's obligation is the jail in the county, to be able to hold detainees and to hold people that have been sentenced to lower level crimes without going to the state facilities or federal facilities, to be able to keep them in jail. The sheriff also works on obviously the courthouse, civil processes, and then we also do the chief fire. So we make calls on fire hazards here in Adams County. Well, the biggest thing that I have seen over the last a couple administrations is that we've drifted away from the public. We have not engaged with the public. We've not worked with the public on a regular basis to be able to collaborate and bring the sheriff's office and law enforcement together, to be able to work with each other to build that trust and respect, and to be able to build and form a better evidence-based community policing, that we all work together to solve problems, so that we're proactive instead of reactive in these problems and solutions within the community. So that right now is probably one of the biggest things that I've seen, is that the law enforcement and communities are not communicating as well as they should, and the law enforcement is definitely not listening. So we need to listen. We need to attend meetings, and we need to be part of the community, so that we get information, we share information with our community members and community groups, and we work together to solve these problems. Now, a lot of the bonds have been reduced. In law enforcement, in the jail, and the sheriff, we have constitutional obligations where we have to abide by the bonding process through the judicial system. So the sheriff's office hand is really tied when it comes down to who gets released, how they get released, and what type of a bond they get. But we have to focus on working in the community to reduce crime at the community level before they even get to jail. So we need to work on components with mental health. We need to work on reducing drug abuse, homelessness, and some of the issues that are sparking and causing our crime rate to fluctuate, to increase. We also need to use our due diligence to help reduce recidivism in our jail. So we have to, as a community, as all together, everyone across the state of Colorado, we have to be able to work together, and we need to provide programs to get our inmates that we're releasing, our community members that we're putting back out into the community, a way to be able to provide for themselves. So we need to provide them some educational opportunities where they can learn how to write resumes, how to do job applications, to find jobs, to find housing, to get them back into the system where they're productive members of our community, instead of going out and committing crime to support themselves when they get out. So we need to be able to give them an opportunity to succeed when we're releasing people out of jail. And that doesn't mean give money out. That means just provide the programming where we can get them out of our facility, where they can get out and be a productive member in our community. Currently, I don't know if there's anything in process right now. But once I'm elected, it's a program and a project that I need to get started and need to look at. Need to collaborate with other jurisdictions to really get into the fentanyl distribution and usage, and start providing some educational training at the lower levels for kids, for high school kids, for junior high school kids, to give them an educational process that they understand that it is not good, that it's dangerous, that it is very addictive. And fentanyl has gradually creeped up over the years, where it used to be cocaine and then methamphetamines, and now fentanyl is everywhere. And that's where we have to inform people the best we can to be safe and not to take drugs, not to use products that they don't know or have any idea what's in them or who's making them, not to use prescriptions that are not theirs, because some of those are also laced with fentanyl nowadays, and we need to really get out and push that message to the public. And we can do that in community meetings and community groups, through social networking. We can do that through some of our schools. So there is ways to do that. But at the same time, we need to crack down on the distributors and the people that are dealing fentanyl here in Colorado and in Adams County. Well, one thing I can tell you is that during my career with the Sheriff's Office, I was the division chief in charge of our jail division. So at that point in time, and I can't remember what year, you question that I was unprepared for. I can't remember exactly the year, but there was some legislation that came down that we cannot do that. We can't hold people unless there is a detainer, not a detainer, but a warrant for people federally. So when they are done in our jail, anybody, they're released unless there is a warrant to hold them for some other means. But we are not in the business of holding people, immigrants, that are here in this country just for that fact. That's due to that is a responsibility of the federal government and ICE and various different agencies that enforce that, not our local sheriffs and sheriff's offices that can keep people or should keep people in custody when it is just a hold because they're an immigrant from another country. I'm not going to miss anything from being retired. I'm really not retired. Well, first of all, I started my law enforcement career in 1995 as a volunteer where I rode on horseback. Rode on horseback for the posse. I also did patrol functions. And then I went full-time in 1997 with the Sheriff's Office, where I worked until 2019. I worked my way up through the ranks from a volunteer to a division chief. So when I left the Sheriff's Office, I was a division chief. I was responsible for our biggest division. I had 318 employees, and I had our largest part of our budget, which was about a $42 million budget at that time. Since then, I am still involved in law enforcement, and I went to work with the Colorado Rangers. That is a statewide agency who works all over the state of Colorado. And I do that as a volunteer, as a reserve, so I can give back to our communities. I did that so I had time to campaign. So I've been campaigning for over 22 months, every day. And I've knocked on over 4,300 doors personally. I've attended all the fairs, the festivals, a bunch of special events so I can make that connection again with our community members, because that's truly what we need. They don't need somebody in a sheriff's position that sits in an office that is not listening to their issues and is not working with them to resolve the problems. So I've still been active, just not paid full time in law enforcement. Ever since I've been small, I raised cattle. So I raise cattle, I raise pigs, I have beehives, I have poultry. So I still do that, and I've done that during my whole career. I also own some small businesses over the years, and I still own a small business that we run for some real estate. Earlier today, I was with my granddaughter who's out competing at the Adams County Fairgrounds. It's my first day I've had off for a month or two. I couldn't even tell you when, but today I went and watched her compete on horseback because of my passion for horse riding. And again, I've raised horses, I've rode horses for many years, and so today I went and watched her compete in reining competition, riding competition, and competing here in Adams County.